Thank you for joining me today, Peter Pilt. Big fan of your blog and your morning news wrap.
Thank you.
I haven't been following it from the beginning, but ever since I heard you on Vision Radio a year or two ago, It's been a frequent appearance in my news feed.
Good.
What I love is a Christian leader. Every time I see it, and it's not rare, but it's not common enough, is when a Christian leader will stand up and give an opinion about what's going on in the world, about the issues that affect all of us. So we've recently seen mainstream media, and I wrote an article about it on my blog for Margaret Court getting slapped down for having an opinion that was contrary to the approved opinion of the day. What are your thoughts about Christians speaking out in generally? Is it a calling? Is it somebody who needs to be comfortable with it, or?
I think we're called to stand up and speak. The main motive that I had for starting to put my opinion out more and more was because I found that there was a strong leftist agenda, but not a real lot of pushback from the church and from church leaders. Not criticising church leaders, but for me, and this is like a decade ago, it was kind of like, well, who's pushing back on some of the things that were being said?
Yeah.
And I became increasingly frustrated by the whole doctrine of tolerance. And so I used to, and I still say...
It is a doctrine, isn't it?
Totally a doctrine.
Yeah.
But I challenge people that when they say, hey, you're intolerant, I always come back and say, but aren't you as a preacher of tolerance meant to tolerate even those that are intolerant? Mm-hmm. And that was very relevant this last couple of weeks with Margaret Court.
The irony is completely lost on them.
I know, and because they're raging and they're saying, but this woman is so intolerant. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, but you're more intolerant of her opinion. Calling for Margaret Court Arena to be renamed and all that kind of. I'm going, you are showing yourself to be not only intolerant but now hypocritical.
Yeah, there's suburbs in Canberra that are named after prime ministers who promoted the White Australia policy. Should we rename them because we disagree with them now?
Good question.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Of course, that was a leftist opinion, so they'll never call for their own heroes to be erased from history.
Well, I saw one comment that they said, are they going to rename Etihad Stadium because of Etihad? Because of in the UAE, obviously gay marriage is highly not tolerated. So they're going to rename that. So I mean, it's just so hypocritical.
That's right. So the important thing, and I agree completely, is that Christians generally, but Christian leaders particularly, need to be pushing back, because we're losing the culture war not because they've got better or superior or well-articulated arguments, but because they're the only people in it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and so we need to be talking, and we can do that. And the great thing now, again, you go back 15 years, and to have some sort of a voice, you were writing a letter to the editor.
Talkback radio.
You talk back, that's that kind of thing. Whereas now you can have a Facebook page. Social media is given. This is a positive and a negative. Social media has given everybody a platform for their opinion. And what we as Christians need to be doing now is having a well-articulated opinion. And I think that's a key thing, because we can have an opinion and come across as being dumb. What we need is a well-articulated opinion. And it doesn't take much to Google a few articles, read a few articles, kind of come up with an opinion that resonates with your theological background or your theological slant, and then go, okay, now this is my articulated opinion. And I think that's a crucial thing, that it's not just about having an opinion, but it's about having a well thought out opinion.
So the two words that articulate the purpose of this show is to help people be involved, which is talking about having an opinion, and informed.
Yes.
So, which is what you're saying, is you need to articulate it with, and the Bible says, study to show yourself approved. Have an answer when people ask you why you believe what you believe.
Absolutely.
And everybody, whether you believe or not, that's good advice for everybody. Research before you share something on Facebook. Fact check it yourself. Just check it. You wouldn't. We were talking last night, and you said that you were sick of people sending you a message telling you to put a padlock on your Facebook wall as if it's going to achieve something.
Absolutely.
I promise you, not half an hour after after we talked about that and joked about how unintelligent that is, a Christian state MP sent me that exact message. And it's like, Do you not know that a 15-year-old started that 18 months ago just to see how far it could go? Like, it's actually chainmail.
Well, so another one that I wrote a blog on was pray for, I'm not going to pronounce this right, but pray for Quagrosh in Iraq. And you get this message saying, hey, you know, there's great atrocities happening in Iraq right now, and Joyce Meyer's come out and called for prayer and all that kind of, and so after I got about 40 of those in one day, you just have to Google, that's right. You know, that town in Iraq, and to find out it was actually a story that was 2.5 years old. Yeah. And yes, there were some atrocities there. And yes, we need to pray for the Christians in Iraq, or all people in Iraq. But to just be mindlessly passing that on, it's just so frustrating. Yeah. And we've got to think anyway. So last night after you and I talked, I pushed back a little bit on a guy that I knew, a Christian guy from Wollongong, and I just said, look, help me understand how putting a padlock without a comment on my Facebook wall raises awareness about depression. Because if you want to raise awareness about depression, let's talk about depression. Yeah, that's right. Let's bring it out in the open. Anyway, so he ended up unfriending me and blocking me, and it didn't even get heated. Yeah. It was just a pushback. Yeah. And it's like, hang on, even amongst Christians, can't we even reason together and iron sharpens iron. Yeah. But it's just that whole, and again, I got in trouble last night on Facebook for calling people lemmings. Remember you know what lemmings? You know, okay, yeah. I do too. Yeah. But we shouldn't be lemmings. Yeah. We should be thinking. So it's kind of funny that you got that message last night. It is. It's just ironic. So the call that I love from you is Christians, get smarter. Get more informed, read the news. And if you're going to comment on something, please do comment as much as you can. Get involved in the conversation that's going on. Don't leave it to everybody else. Don't leave it to the people who think the opposite of us, because then the opposite views, the false views, the lies, they will become the status quo and the culture of our society, which is terrible when all we had to do was participate in the conversation. Yeah. But participate intelligently. Yeah. So I used to, go back in my late teens, early 20s. I guess I wasn't strong in my faith, and so I didn't really want to engage. I didn't want to hear, about Islam, and I didn't want to hear from an atheist. And I really wanted to live in a Christian bubble, because that kind of protected my my small faith. Yeah. But to me, I had to then engage, and the one of the ways that I've got. Or I've articulated my opinion is to actually engage with atheists. That's right. I read the Quran. I went to Friday prayers at the Lakemba Mosque, and because I want to engage and know other people's worldview, so that I can then push back from a Christian worldview perspective and go, okay, because if you're sitting down with talking to a Muslim and I can say, hey, I've read the Quran, and have been a Friday prayers, all of a sudden the barriers come down. Yeah. I can start talking to them about, Jesus is mentioned 15 times in the Quran. Jesus is the healer. Jesus, and you can actually then. They're surprised that a Christian would know stuff about the Quran. Yes. Again, it's that articulate, spending time kind of going, okay, how are we going to engage here? Yeah. And you don't need to become a rocket scientist. The fact is that when you have these conversations, even if you have them badly and lose and get embarrassed because you just don't know the answer, whenever that's happened to me, that's driven me to research and to knowledge and to find the answer. Well, I'm never not going to know the answer again. Yep. Somebody asks me that question next time, I'm going to be able to answer that. Absolutely. And that's just the normal part of living. I love Paul in Acts, I think it's 17, or Acts 19. I think it's Acts 19 actually. He goes into the city of Athens and he sees 30,000 idols. And the Bible says that his spirit was provoked within him. Number one, we as Christians have got to have our spirit provoked within us, yes. and that's got to drive us. Where we look around what's happening in the world, whether it be atrocities overseas, whether it be refugees drowning in our northern waters, whether it be the way Indigenous people are treated here in Australia. There's got to be something that provokes us in our spirit. But then Paul went to the church, he went to the marketplace. And then he went and reasoned with the Stoics and the Epicureans. Yeah. And so I look at that as three levels. We've got to be articulate in the church.
Yes.
We've got to be articulate in our street, where we're just, just in the marketplace, our workplace, that kind of thing.
Schoolwork.
Yep, schoolwork. But then the Stoics and the Epicureans are the philosophers of the day. Those that want to push back on people like Margaret Court and stuff. And we then need to be able to step up into that arena.
Absolutely.
But it comes out of our spirit's got to be provoked within us.
Yes. Let's talk about some of the ways we can push back in the next segment.
Okay.
Thanks for watching. If you really enjoyed that video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Have a look at this great video next and check out the website for even more interesting articles and episodes later.